You're watching TVC Breakfast. Let's get into our last discussion of the day. In less than 2 years, the Justice Court reality program has risen from being just a dream to be one of the most watched reality shows in Nigeria. Many viewers say they have learned a lot about the law and the Nigerian legal system by watching the Justice Court show, and that is helping them make better choices to stay out of trouble. There is no doubt that the Justice Court show might just be part of the social reengineering needed in our society, and particularly the justice system. Today we have the pleasure of having the Honorable and Amiable Judge Fumi Ashaolu and the presiding judge of the Justice Court in the studio with me right here in the studio. Good to see you.
Good morning.
Let me give you a clapping ovation first.
Thank you.
You are doing an amazing and a fantastic job with that show. Sometimes I sit down and I'm like, in fact, the question is, for the purpose of those who are watching this program, who think that show is just, let's just do a show for, is that show real, or it is just a show for like a drama?
The cases are very real.
Real cases, real-time cases.
And the judgment is binding.
Wow.
Yes. They are real-life cases.
So everything we see on that show is real, for real?
As you are looking at it, that's the way it is.
Okay. Now, let's start it this way. You have been enjoying a quiet, you want to just be quiet within yourself and all of that. But since you became a celebrated judge, what has really changed? Share with us some of your experiences.
Well, the experience has been amazing and funny at the same time.
Please tell us.
The amazing part is the overwhelming love from fans of the Justice Courts. And I'd like to say thank you to all the fans out there. But the funny part is I receive calls, text messages from people demanding for us to pay medical bill, school fees, rent as well. A lot of demand. They seem to believe, they have that misconception that it's an NGO.
Oh, I see. I see.
That's the funny part.
We'll come to, because we've seen some people benefit from the benevolence of the court. We'll come to that. I'll ask you that question later. But let's thrash some of the very strong issues in here. Now, let's talk about the issue of jungle justice and people taking the laws into their hands, for instance. From what you see, what impact is that having? Because we've seen it play out in so many cases and so many instances. What impact is that having on the justice system in the country, or anywhere for that matter?
Well, the courts they've always frowned at and advised against self-help. The most common is mob action in Nigeria. It sure results in, we call it jungle justice eventually. I'll take a case as an example. Sometime, I think October 2012, 4 students, university students, at Alu community in River State.
The one that's popularly called Alu 4.
Alu 4. They were wrongly accused of stealing laptop and handsets. Based on this, they were stripped naked, paraded around an area within the community, eventually beaten to death. And there's a claim that one of them was even burnt alive. All of them were actually burnt with tires hung around their neck and eventually deposited at a pit. Well, the court stepped in and 3 people were actually sentenced to death, out of which one of them is a police sergeant. They were charged for murder, felony, conspiracy, lynching, and burning. So many people out there, they think they can just take the law into their hands and nothing will come out of it. Eventually, they were sentenced to death. And curiously, the 4 boys, they are all first sons of their parents.
Yeah, really troubling.
So it's such a barbaric act. And a lot of innocent people have gone this way. So self-help is just a capital N-O. Even after every episode of our case, we always state it. Have you been cheated or have disputes and you need justice? Don't take laws into your hands. It's always stated. Don't take laws into your hands. Then we direct them to our website to submit their case. So that's just it.
Well, in the case of the Alu 4 you mentioned, we saw the public outcry from that incident that led to a lot of sympathy for the case, and security had, in fact, government at one point or the other had to step in, and the court also. But there are so many other cases that may not gain the kind of traction that got. What, from your view, or in your view, how if a case doesn't get celebrated or doesn't go viral, how do you try to also step in to help the situation too?
That's why even at that Alu case, the presiding judge lashed out while addressing the journalist at the security operatives, because he said they could have saved the lives of the students, and by that they failed in their primary duty.
Maybe they were also afraid of the mob action.
So that's why the issue is, when people don't know how to go about the procedure for securing justice, at times they just go about it in the justice manner. But the mob action is something that we really need to address in the country. They've taken it for granted. Yeah,
if we have to take steps towards addressing that, apart from the issue of creating enlightenment, which is foundational, because anybody who is enlightened, your approach to things are always different. But what do you think we should do as a people and as a country?
Educate people.
All right.
You just need to educate them. And that's why, so far, responses we get at times from the viewers of Justice Court, they claim it's so educative. When people don't know what to do, at times they don't even know they are committing a crime. But the issue is ignorance of the law. It's no escape.
It's not an excuse. It's not an excuse. All right, now we've often heard of the law is not a respecter of any man. But when it is being applied, we see that sometimes the application of it or the quick dispensation of it in some cases are different from other cases. So how does that contradict the fact that the law is not a respecter of any man? Or are there exceptions that one should consider?
Equality before the law.
Exactly.
Right. The principle is that every human being is freeborn,
right,
with dignity and equal rights. Therefore, the law should protect everyone equally. That's the law.
Okay.
But in reality, it doesn't always work out that way. So when we think about what makes it not to work out that way, there are several issues.
Okay.
For instance, the way we treat the wealthy and the well-known is quite different from the way we treat the poor and the unknown. We treat them with more dignity. That brings the gap already. Then we have gender inequality, which most times result to issue of rape, sexual assaults, and the like. We have economic crimes. Most of them generate from either greed, poverty again, corruption, you know. But because of the way we treat the gap, most people want to belong to the superior level because of the way and the manner we treat them.
Yeah.
In fact, one of the Nigerian musicians had a song with the lyrics that states, if you don't have money, hide
your face.
Do you understand?
So is this a societal thing, or those who do it unknowingly, or
both?
What?
I'll say both. Some, they don't know the implication of the consequence.
But does that, how does that infiltrate or cascade or permeate into the court system somehow?
It's not just the courts.
Okay.
I'll say every sphere.
I see.
You know, that's the way it is. And it's not exclusive to Nigeria. It's a major issue. It's a big challenge that we have to keep on working on until we get it the way we want it to be.
All right. Let's get back to this show. Share with us, how did you come about? How did you conceive? How did you decide to, come up with this show generally? Can you share your experience with us in this?
Well, I think Justice Court emerged with the intent to give ordinary people that ordinarily may not have money to afford services of a lawyer. Is a way to bring justice down to them, across to them, because you don't have to pay a dime to appear at the courts. And we try to work on having speedy trials such that justice is not delayed at the same time. So most cases, maximum time that any matter is presided over, maybe twice. And that's when the court requires for further documentation.
Okay.
That's the only time. Otherwise, once your matter is mentioned in the court, you will conclude it that very day.
How do you determine, are all the cases, do they get to be on the show, or there are some cases that are made for the show and then others are not?
A lot of cases are even settled without being brought to the court. Sure. We have a group of legal team. When cases are submitted online, the legal team, they reach out to the defendants. At the website, there's a form to be filled. There's a portion where you can attach all your documents to back up your claim. When the legal team go through it, then they reach out to the other party to get his or her side of the story. Then they go through everything. If it's something they can resolve, I get involved at times. Then we resolve it. We reach out to them and we resolve them. But others end up in court.
Are there some cases that cannot be entertained in the court?
Sure.
What kind of cases?
It's just a small claim civil courts, criminal matters that, and I keep referring to it on the program, that if there are some cases they have the borderline of civil and criminal, and when they are brought to the courts, we treat them as civil matter because the plaintiff has decided to make it a civil matter. Sometimes because they don't know it could be criminal in nature, sometimes because they just want it resolved on time. They don't want to waste time. So, and when the defendants start being difficult, I make them understand that it's just a privilege that you hire. Ordinarily, I'll just refer the matter to the criminal courts. I tell them. Because all criminal matters should be tried at the criminal courts.
Exactly. Now, when it comes to, in fact, a lot of, not just Nigerians, but even lawyers have said that there is the need for reforms in the judicial system. We recall that when this administration came first in 2015, the judiciary system was one of those that the president talked about as in there's a need, to reform the system. On one hand, create special courts for special issues like corruption. Some even talked about election, apart from the tribunal and all of that. If we have to start looking at that window, how is your show, creating that scenario of how a court system can be reformed, a court system can be open enough, a court system can be enlightening, a court system can assist people and things like that?
Well, I'll take it from what I said earlier on. I think the major challenge that we have at the judiciary is the delayed justice. If this pen is stolen from you and you charge it to court, you can go all the way to the Supreme Court. You know the number of years
exactly it's going to take.
So there are a lot of reforms we need to do within the system. I'm talking about the judiciary.
Yes.
Then I told you, justice courts, the way it is now, we're already decongesting the cost list at the regular courts. Because all the cases that comes to justice court could ordinarily be at the traditional court as well. So these are the issues. That's the impact justice court has made so far.
That's great. Have you ever lost sleep in deciding on a verdict concerning any case at all? Has anyone been so difficult for you and so challenging that you couldn't find some rest of mind?
Before passing judgments, or you mean after I read through their case?
Yes,
before sitting
exactly.
in court,
when you sit
after
and you've gone through all of these things and you're like, how do I? What way should we? Trying to balance your human, as a mother of the society, as a lawyer, you have to be a principal. Trying to balance that thing.
Yes, I'll tell you from experience. I realized that when I read through the claims, at times when I'm sitting down there, when they come before me, they are narrating a different story entirely. So you have to be imagining what, at times I have to read their claim out to them. Like, this is what I have before me. And you are saying a contrary thing right now. So that's the way it normally goes, is when the matter is ongoing and you start listening to each party.
Yes.
And I take my time on that too. That's when I now decide on who is actually guilty and what needs to be done, having the law, application of the law at the back of my mind.
Wow. We've seen, apart from deciding cases, we've seen situations where you assist, some of those people who have different challenges and all of that. How do you decide who benefits from the benevolence of the court? And because originally you've done your job and that is it, but going beyond there to still assist people here and there, share with us on that.
Yeah, assistance by the court is not automatic.
Okay.
I'm usually guided by the circumstances surrounding each litigant. For instance, I remember there was a matter I presided over. The young man was residing in Abuja. He had a girlfriend in Lagos. The girlfriend invited him over to Lagos, and along the line they fell out. And she was the one that made arrangements for his residential.
Okay.
So he had to move out. So I had to look at the circumstances surrounding his situation. And I was scared that if he keeps hanging out on the streets, he might change over.
Exactly.
So we had to make provision for something.
Yes.
To assist him to get accommodation. And I now have another case I remember vividly well. The woman, she's a graduate. She has 5 children. The husband traveled abroad. And she never heard from him again. At the time she came to court, she was owing 3 years' rent. Now, the landlord wanted his money, and he wanted her out of the premises. So, like I said, it's the circumstances surrounding each.
I see. I wish we had time to talk about these things, because there were some of the programs, your program, I sat down to enjoy the process of some of the things, you know, one man owing his, not providing for his wife, you know, and things like that, they're separated. You know, there's so many interesting cases like that. But we will look for time again. We'll have you back on the show so we can discuss other aspects as a way of enlightening the people as well, because you said ignorance before the law is no excuse anywhere. So we know that line already. So thank you so much, Judge Funmi Ashaolu, for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate it.
And thank you for what you do for the society and the people.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great.